this is something that's talked about every year, all the time, right? It's always the problem, always the thing to talk about. So how can you defend your platform and show that it's not talk this year and you actually have some concrete ideas to solve that problem?
Yeah, so again, definitely, like, we have talked about strategic planning a lot, long-term planning a lot, and the key difference that I would hope, anyways, this year, correct me if I'm wrong, but is really solidifying those metrics, right? And by solidifying those metrics and making them publicly available to all of our students or all of our members, and having people talk about them and actually have public discourse about these metrics in all of our areas, we can actually hold NSOC accountable to them, right? So people will actually know what it is that NSOC is trying to move towards, and people will understand whether or not NSOC is actually moving towards them. So I think that that's really kind of like the key, point to the long-term plan that makes it a feasible item, right? To say that, in terms of student funding, we want an increase in student funding by, let's say, 40% within the next, 2 years. How we get there is something to kind of work out with the rest of the members of the NSOC, but to have that goal there and publicly available and discussed amongst all the members is something that we can hold the organization accountable to. So.
Do you guys want to comment about transition, how you would fix that as well?
Sure, I can say a few things about transition. I mean, part of the problem that we have with transition reports is we look at them as something that we write at the end of the term to tell the next person, I don't know what, everything you did. I don't know, but it's the problem is that when you start at the beginning of your term, you don't actually know what it is that you're supposed to be doing. This is like a gradual journey of discovery that you go on as you have a full NSOC directive. And at the end, you're supposed to know like a few words of magic to impart to your successor so they'll have all of your wisdom. The thing is, things can't really work that way because unless that person goes through the same experiences that you went through, they're not going to be able to learn the things that you learned in that position. So what we need to have is we need to have a sense of what needs to be carried over from one year to the other and have an operating plan. And that could be easily 1 or 2 pages. People think about transition reports as like this thick volume, like this is everything that I did this year. If I wrote a transition report as a computer systems administrator like that, it would be like a gigantic book. I guess I'm out of time. Wow, we're going to make it better.
Yeah, so I think it's a very difficult thing to do, simply because the new executives that are coming in, they're coming in with their own plans, their own ideas, their own things, their own legacy that they want to set in place for school here. So I think the best way to go about this would be to explain to the new executives and tell them why exactly you want to do it. How does it benefit schools really on a larger role? And after, I guess if you can do that, there is still a chance that they will want to implement more projects, but that would get you started in the right direction.
I'll toss the next question to Anton.
My question is for Rishi, but I want other candidates to keep this in mind as well. You've mentioned increasing clubs funding by 50%, and on your Facebook page you decided to sacrifice about half of VP External's portfolio in order to be able to do that. Right. Talking about cutting delegates to conferences and other stuff. How do you expect your VPs to listen to you as a president and have some kind of campaign that they run on and tell the students this is their vision when you're going to come in as a president and pretty much just trump that and then make me look like a liar or anyone else who wins, for example? When you're contradicting what we're running on and we're telling the students we're going to get it better and you're saying you're going to cut it.
Well, there's a few responses that I can say to that. First of all, I would tell you the president of the Engineering Society is not in charge of the Engineering Society's budget. And ultimately, those decisions over what gets funded will come to the board of directors, and that is a group that is democratically elected by students. And they're going to have to weigh their responsibilities and the arguments for and against and decide what they want to do. But I want to justify my decision for a little bit. I mean, because when you tell me to preserve conference funding, I mean, as president, it's not my job to make the external better. As president, it's my job to make NSOC better. And if doing that means taking away funding from things that aren't that effective, I mean, that is what I have to do. And if portfolios have to get rejigged from year to year, that has happened. And it will happen again. I mean, I can tell you if you come back here in 15 years, the names of the office, like the names of the VP positions probably won't be the same because they weren't 15 years ago. Okay, and with conferences, I mean, I challenge anyone to look me in the eye and tell me that it's worth it for us to spend $17,000 sending people to other cities to drink. I mean, not worth it. If I had to have a list of things that are not worth it, the #1 thing that's not worth it, I do.
I kind of just want to question Rishi. Can I do that?
No, right now it's just
Okay, I guess I'm not planning on cutting Conference budget significantly. My way of increasing the club, affiliate club budget is by getting a larger source of revenue, not cutting different things. So, yeah.
I said to pump something next to liquor.
Keep this in mind. Howard, do you want to respond to that? Or?
Yeah, I mean, just specifically to, I guess, your points, and even to some of the other VP Externals points, from what I've seen from your platforms, I don't really see conference spending as a big part or core of what you're trying to do. So, I mean, maybe I'm interpreting them wrong or something like that, but not, like, again, I haven't taken a stance on what conference funding should be, but to Rishi's defense, I don't see that, you know, cutting the conference funding is effectively, you know, chopping your mandate as VP External. So, you know, we really got to evaluate, again, what is the cost-benefit analysis for each of the activities that we run, and whether or not they can be done more effectively, or the resources can be put to better places.
Great, thanks. Due to the interest of time, I still have a long list of people that I have you on the list as well. I'm going to limit the response now to 30 seconds, so we can save time for you guys to ask each other questions as well. So the next question is coming from Mauricio.
I'm glad a lot of you guys talked about academic representation to the faculty. Right now we interact with the faculty on various levels. Class reps tell something to professors, discipline clubs tell something to their department, and then the NSEC exec meet with the faculty leadership. And we give